Well, how's it going today, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about GameStop, ticker symbol GME. What the heck is going on with GameStop? We're going to give you the full scoop on this one. We're going to talk about what's going on, why it's rising so much, what is short interest, how much is shorting, who is shorting, what the heck is going on with Robinhood and Melvin and Citadel. And we're just going to talk about all the stuff that's going to happen with this. I'll tell you what I'm doing with it, what I think is going to happen, what's going on with Wall Street bets, all those crazy fellas there. And so we got a lot to unpack on this one. We're going to really get into the whole entire thesis. So it could be a lengthy video here, and let's dive in. If you enjoy the content, please think about subscribing, and let's talk about the whole picture here on GameStop. So the first thing we need to talk about today is what a short squeeze is. What does it mean to be short shares of a company? So let's give you the definition here. An investor borrows shares, then immediately sells them, hoping to be able to buy them later at a lower price. So that all is fine and dandy, but let's just throw an example on the board here. So, short squeeze. We've got shares of Derky, D-E-R-K-Y, which is not real at all. So you've got Pooh Bear here. Pooh Bear's like, all right, boy, it's trading at $100. I'm going to trade you one share at $100. Dingus here is like, all right, I got the share for $100. But you know what I'm going to do right away? I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell the share for $100, and I'm going to keep this $100. Now let's say X amount of time later, Pooh Bear is going to want this share back. So Dingus is hoping, oh my gosh, I hope it goes down. So let's say now the share is trading for $80 when he has to give that share back. Now he's just made that $20 difference. But Pooh Bear is going to be collecting some sort of interest, and he's going to be collecting interest over time on this share, which is happening to shorts right now. So Dingus is like, sweet, I will buy another share, I will sell it to you. I kept that difference, so they kept $20. Now what's the opposite that can happen here? Dingus, who just got that share, could see it rise, and he's like, oh, potato chip, we got to get this figured out right now. So, oh no, it went up to 150 because Durkee had some lovely jerky or something, and now, oh no, she's 150. So now Pooh Bear's like, I don't like this. I don't like this one bit. You're going to have to go ahead and give me that share back. And then Dingus is like, oh snap, I'm going to have to give that share back. So now, bought that share at 150, even though they sold it at 100. Now they've lost $50. But they've covered their short position. They're no longer short the stock because they bought the stock back. So they are no longer short anymore. So that is shorting a stock. It is getting a stock from an institution, selling it right away, waiting to try and get that stock back for a cheaper price, and then pocketing that difference. Now, in the case of GME, it was 140% short. What does that mean? If GME was made up of 100 shares, people were shorting 140 shares. And I know what you're thinking, Matt, how the F-bomb is that even legal? And I don't think it is, which is kind of bananas. And it's like, we're the guys on the wrong side of the track. I got so okay, whatever. So 140% short interest, meaning that out of, if there was 100 shares, 140 were shorted. So more shares than even existed were shorted, which is like the first time in history there's been a company so heavily shorted. Now, why was it so heavily shorted? People thought that GameStop was going to go bankrupt, right? They thought it was going under, or it was trying to drive the price to under or to zero so that they could make that money, which is just absurd. Now, how did it get to 140%? How did that happen? So let's go back to our example here. Oh, Dingus, you and Rofingus are going to get up to some nonsense. I can just sense it. So Pooh Bear here lends Dingus a share for $100. Cool. Now, Dingus could also lend out that share if somebody else wants to short. So Dingus now lends Rofingus. Rofingus is getting in this mess now. He now lends the share to Rofingus as well. Now, if you keep lending, you don't have to just lend back and forth between the same people. If they think they can make money, they can also lend out that share. So this can actually get the short interest higher than 100%. They don't have to just do it between the two of them. They can keep shorting to the next guy, to the next guy, to the next guy. And that is what happened in this case, and that got us up to 140% short interest, which is really, really important for the short squeeze, which we're going to be talking about here next. All right, guys, so we understand what shorting is. So you sell that stock instantly, you try and buy it back later, you make that difference. While you're doing this, the person that lent you that stock is going to make you pay a certain amount of interest. And in the case of what's going on right now, that interest is very, very high because it's very risky to hold GME in its current state. So the interest that these people, Melvin Capital, are paying right now is pretty much out the nose, absolutely bananas. So GME, what happened with it? Why was it so shorted? So shorted because they thought it was going to bankruptcy, right? What happened? Well, good news happened. Restructuring of the board. We have a new CEO who owned Chewy who did really, really good. There was a lot of good things that were happening. The company looked like it was going to come back on earnings. They had more online sales. Things were going quite well. So what happened with this? Well, it started to rise. Every short's fear. It started to rise. So then they had to start covering. That person that lent them the share was like, hey now, I might want this share back now. And you're going to lose a little bit of money doing that. So they started to cover. Now, what happens when they cover? Well, they buy a share to cover themselves, and that's going to increase the share price. They have to cover by buying a share. So they go ahead, they buy that share, which is great. So they buy the share, they've covered, and now it's going to start raising the price and raising the price and raising the price like we saw before. Now, everybody's been talking about a gamma squeeze, and let's talk about that a little bit. So the price is rising, price is rising, price is rising. It's starting to blow through all of the strike prices on all of the options. What does a call option mean? When you sell a call option, you are saying, I will give you 100 shares for X price on X date. So all of these are in the money now. So these tens of thousands of contracts at $300, somebody is having to give out that many shares at $300 per share. So they're buying more shares. So this is what is a gamma squeeze. This is all these short guys that are selling these contracts that are buying these contracts or buying these shares for people. So now all the call options are in the money. So now they have to buy 100 shares at X price, and this is just going to add to the buying pressure. So if you could see, this is kind of just a very cyclical thing. First, you're going to have the short sellers buying back their shares, and that is the short squeeze, by the way. So right now, all we've really seen is gamma squeezes, where in the money options are in the money, but then they're still not really covering. As of lately, the last short interest that I was able to find was 115%, guys. They're still over 100%, which is absolutely absurd. They're still over 100%. No other stocks even shorted 100%. And they're still over it. Even when it got dumped down to like 115 or whatever the heck it was, they were still over 100% short on it. So this can be the infinite money loop. And if you're shorting a stock, you potentially have infinite downside, right? It could go up forever. Who knows how high it could go? So you potentially have infinite downsides. Now we're going to talk about the companies and what's happening with all these different companies, Melvin Capital and Citadel, Robinhood, and all these good guys. So guys, realize with all of this is all speculation, entertainment purposes only. But let's talk about the companies and speculation of why we think everything is happening here. So Melvin Capital, who are those goons at Melvin Capital that Wall Street bet just keeps poo-pooing on? So Melvin Capital, they are one of the people that have the largest amount of short interest in GameStop right now. So Melvin Capital, they are wanting GameStop to go to zero to make money, right? And they're the ones most at risk if this thing fires up like it has. So they are getting absolutely roasted right now. I mean, they are losing billions of dollars right now because of the share price rocketing up so freaking much. So they are losing billions of dollars. Now, who is Citadel? So Citadel is a market maker. So for multiple different platforms, including Robinhood, when you put your order in, it is actually exercised through Citadel. So Citadel also has a very, very huge stake in Melvin Capital. So Citadel actually provided them after that last week or so, they provided them with $3 billion more. So would you think it makes sense that they wouldn't want this company to do badly? I think that would probably make sense. They wouldn't want them to do badly, and they're providing them with extra funds, and I think they've reloaded them 2 times to keep trying to short and keep trying to get everybody to hop out of GME. All speculation. So Robinhood. What was the deal with Robinhood? Why did they stop anybody from buying GME? So Robinhood, they fulfill all their orders through Citadel. So maybe getting some heat from upward pressure. Don't let people buy GME because the amount of shares is starting to dwindle. There's not enough for people to start covering, and we'll dive into that here next. But this is kind of the companies that are all kind of chained together in this big conspiracy here. Melvin Capital, biggest stake of shortness in GME right now. Citadel, a market maker that keeps reloading Melvin Capital. Robinhood, kind of under the whip of Citadel because they're fulfilling all of their orders. So why was Robinhood not letting people buy GME anymore? We'll dive into that right now. Well, alrighty, so more speculation coming at you here. So what was the deal with Robinhood? What happened there? So let's cover a little bit more backstory here. So Wall Street Bets had a boy named Deep Fucking Value who posted this big old thesis on GameStop, which is ending up coming true about short interests and about gamma squeezes and how there could be this infinite money cycle. So that's my boy. So On Wall Street Bets, they were talking about that. Also, just a group of people that would talk about stocks that they like and why they would like it and everything like that. Some due diligence on that as well. I've been following these guys for about 3 years, and just mainly just because it's interesting and seeing people lose so much and gain so much. I'm really a conservative investor myself at heart, so I never really would do anything, and I don't really like buying options. But something I followed, and I just think those guys are dope. So Wall Street Bets. So he had this big thesis on GME and why it was going to get better, and everything's starting to kind of happen that way. So why is everybody on Wall Street Bets holding right now? Because there's a supply and a demand problem right now. So people are all buying up GameStop. And right now, Melvin Capital needs people to sell GameStop. They want that price to go down when they cover because they have to buy shares. Now, if they buy shares and send the price even higher, that's going to send it into that loop or that short squeeze where they buy shares. And now everybody that's short, it rose so fast, now they have to buy shares as well, causing that infinite money loop. And then these squeezing of going up and up and up is going to cause all of these options to be in the money, where now all of these call options, people need to buy more shares. So it's just a circuit of like buying shares, buying shares, buying shares. Oh, we're covering our short. We have to buy shares. Oh no, these options that we sold are now in the money. Now we have to buy more shares. So this is why it's super crucial that it keeps going up and it keeps passing these strike prices. So last Friday it ended above 320, which was pretty big because now they have to cover that 320 mark. Granted, people are talking about a big gamma squeeze, and that's going to be kind of debatable for this week because they have Monday and Tuesday to cover. But that's going to be kind of debatable because they probably already covered a good portion of these call contracts, but we'll see on Monday, I suppose. Anywho, why are they preaching to hold? Because when Melvin Capital starts the squeeze, and remember, they're still at 115% short interest, so they barely have covered. They only covered 25% of the short interest at this point. When Melvin Capital does start to cover, they're going to have to pay whatever price those holders want. 1K in a meme, 5K in a meme, 10K in a meme. Whatever they're willing to hold till, potentially, and this is the thesis, they'll be able to sell for. So if you have a sell order for 5,000, they'll have to pay 5,000 per share once they get to that point. And not only will they have to cover, for every share out there, they'll need to buy a share. It's even more than that, guys, because it's more than 100%. So every single share that's out there, all the shorts would have to buy one of those. And then, they'd have to buy another 15%. So potentially covering basically twice. So, okay, now you guys have to buy the share for whatever we want. And then also, now you guys have to buy the shares even higher than that because you're over 100% short, which is crazy. And this is just unlike a certain situation I've ever seen before. So the shares are running out. So what was Citadel's answer? What was Robinhood's answer? Again, speculation. What are all the other brokerages that are whipped? What were all of their answers? Well, let's just do some straight up motherfucking market manipulation and let's make people not be able to buy shares. And what the actual fuck is that, guys? That is absolute horse. You know what I'm saying here. So people were not able to buy this stock. And what happened after that, again, speculation here, on that Thursday before, there was lots of bids to make the computers think that the price actually had shot down. Super duper low bids, possibly between shorts. So this is more speculation, guys. But possibly between shorts, there was a bunch of low bids, and that just grenaded the share price, trying to shake people out so they'd actually sell their shares. And when it was recovering, guess what? Oh, now we can't buy shares. I was thinking, oh, sweet, I'll scoop up some more. Nope, can't buy any shares. So just complete market manipulation. So I do not understand how it's a free market when stuff like that is going on and stuff between the shorts that's just driving the share price down. And again, speculation. But that is kind of what's going on. The shares are running out. They're getting desperate right now, desperate enough to break laws right now where they can't even have you buy more shares because the supply is so stinking low. So that is kind of scary in their behalf. We saw the whole entire market go down. Why do we think the whole entire market went down? Well, Melvin Capital is invested in a ton of different stuff. I'm sure they're pulling money out either to fight right now, to fight that share price and try and keep chunking it down, or they're pulling stuff out to start covering, which I don't think they're going to start covering at least for this week. I think they're going to plug it out until they can. But if Melvin Capital were to go bankrupt because it went super duper high, that could affect the whole market in a very, very negative way because they have stakes in lots of different markets. So that could affect it in a very, very negative way. Why is everybody getting so dang fired up about this right now? Why is everybody on Wall Street Bets? Why is everybody on CNBC? Why the heck is everybody everywhere getting so fired up right now about GME, GameStop right now? So People are angry because it seems like a David and Goliath situation where David's given like a stick and Goliath's given like a dang flamethrower. So not allowing us to buy, not allowing a good portion of people to buy. They know that most of the people that were buying, or a good chunk of them, were on Robinhood. So not being able to buy is getting cut right at the knees. And again, I know I've said this a bunch of times, speculation, entertainment only. And I like GME diamond hands. So Wall Street bet guys, they're thinking, okay, well, we have to hold. If you hold, eventually they will have to pay what we want them to pay for these shares. Melvin Capital obviously does not want that to happen because they're going to have to liquidate. They're going to have to go bankrupt or whatnot to be able to cover all these shares because there's so many short shares. Now, this is going to affect the whole entire market. The whole entire market could go down because Melvin Capital is invested in other things other than just shorting. So the whole market could go down. So there's a big reason for everybody on Wall Street not to want this to happen. The whole market could go down. Melvin Capital, billionaires, billions and billions of dollars, and people who are invested in it, like Citadel, could possibly lose their asses on this thing because it's going to go down so much right now. So they're cutting us at the knees. They're not doing fair trading practice. CNBC keeps saying how negative all these guys are, but when you go on Reddit and look at Wall Street bets, you'll see people that are just very, very generous. They're giving their money away. And, just a lot of unity of people that just like GME stock. And that's another point that I have to talk about too. It's okay for billionaires to talk about their positions, but when a bunch of people talk about their positions, that's apparently market manipulation, which is just a scary term to be thrown around. People talk about their positions all the time. They say, this is why I like this stock. And then, that's kind of how I hear about stocks. I'll hear somebody talk about it. I'll do my own research on it. I'll say, oh, I like this stock too. I think this could make me money. And then I'll go ahead and buy it. And then, eventually it makes or loses me money based on this DD. You look up the financials. You hear about it from somebody else. One of the big guys on TV. You look it up, you look at their financials. Oh, they have good cash. Oh, they have good revenue. Oh, they have good growth. Well, I think I should buy this. I like this one. So they're just throwing really negative connotations at everybody at Wall Street bets, and it just doesn't feel like a fair fight. So it's kind of seeming like a David and Goliath, and that's getting people fired up right now. So what are folks thinking is the end game, and what's something that I'm particularly watching for? What are people watching for in general? And what's going to happen when the price falls? Are a lot of these people who are holding right now going to end up being bag holders of this stock? So what's the end game? Well, the short squeeze. So technically, in my eyes at least, the short squeeze has not happened yet. They're still at 115% short that are not covered yet based on the last time I checked on Friday. So they have technically not covered yet. The short squeeze will be when they all cover. Now remember, of all the shares out there, they're over 100%. They need to buy every single share that's out there and then some. What's that going to do to the share price? Squeeze it. Squeeze it like crazy. So it's going to send it up. It's going to send it up like absolute bananas, and that's going to be the short squeeze. Now, what's the short squeeze going to lead to? Every single contract being in the money. That's going to lead to a gamma squeeze. So then more shares are going to have to be bought. And if the shorts aren't fully out, that's going to lead to another squeeze, or infinite money. So, that's kind of the crazy thesis on that at least. So the end game. Once that short squeeze is completed, and you could kind of look and just keep looking up what the short interest is on these positions, then you'll see if they're actually starting to cover their short position or not. Then you could actually sell because they're going to need to buy. All of these shorts need to buy regardless to where the price is. So hopefully all the people that are holding or bag holding can then sell at that point to the people that need to buy to cover. So hopefully you won't be bag holding this at the very, very end of the day. I do believe after all of this is happening, the share price will fall slightly. But it is hard to know what's going to happen because companies can restructure, they can use the funds, they can offer shares to then, gain this valuation that actually makes a little bit of sense because now they've smartly used all this money and they've been able to get the company up to snuff, which is another thesis that we have, that they're going to be able to use this money and all this attention to make their company even better, which would be great. So that price fall. So the price fall may happen. They might be able to use this money to make their company better. But after all of the shorts are out, odds are the shares will fall in price. The bag holders hopefully will escape just fine. So when all of the shorts are covering their positions, covering, the holders of the stock could sell to them, potentially. Now, again, this is all speculation and entertainment only. So that is the thesis on GameStop. So GameStop, here's a cap of everything. GameStop. Short interest is really high. People are borrowing shares, they're not giving them back, and the price keeps rising, putting the heat on them. They are paying a crazy amount of interest rate on this rate. right now. So Melvin Capital is losing billions and they're under the heat. So if people just hold, then it'll be just fine. They're under the gun right now. So if it were just to be held, then they're just going to keep losing money. It doesn't cost money to hold. It does cost money to have a short position. Once it covers, that's going to cause a short squeeze, also causing a gamma squeeze and people that are buying the stock up like crazy. And this, I'm saying this when it's even at $300. So people saying the squeeze is over, well, they're still at 115% short interest. So, theoretically, it hasn't even started yet, at least in my eyes. So that's what could happen. It could potentially squeeze, and then you could have all these call options in the money. So now they have to buy all these options. Then they have to cover their positions even more, so on and so forth. And it'd be a very, very vicious circle. So it feels unfair that we can't buy, and it feels unfair that all these companies are together. And it kind of just seems like it's just big money versus the little guy. So that's why people are fired up, and that is what's going on with GME. I hope I was able to explain that to the best of my knowledge. Again, this is entertainment purposes only. If you enjoyed the content, think about subscribing, and we'll see where this one goes. This one's going to be just bananas. So we'll see where it goes, and thank you for watching.